Hey everyone, I'm here with Emily, top Etsy seller, 500K Etsy expert. Emily, thanks for being on my channel.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. We talked about this earlier before. The purpose of this video is to help everyone with POD, those that want to start POD in the next year. And you have so many great tips. I'm glad that you're here on my channel.
Yeah, I'm excited to be able to help and just inspire anyone who's interested in starting this year and know that it's still possible.
Awesome, awesome. Before we get into all the tips you have, I'm going to read your bio for people that don't know you, and then we're going to get into some of the questions I think people might be asking who are starting Etsy, who want to start to print on demand with Etsy. So here's the bio that I have. Emily, a former educator turned entrepreneur, began her Etsy journey in January 2023, not too long ago, just 2 years ago, with over 25,000 sales and 500,000 in revenue across her two shops. She's passionate about helping new sellers build their own businesses through print on demand and digital products. As a busy mom of two, you can often find her running around between sports practices and school activities while managing her Etsy business on the go. Wow, very busy. Thanks for being here on my channel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like I said, I'm just so excited to be able to share a little bit about my story and how I can help others do the same.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know it's a very busy time for you, especially with everything that we just read, and it's Q4, and so I very appreciate the time that you're spending with us to help others. So let me start. I think a lot of people want to know this, and the first question is, what's your origin story? How did you get started? We kind of went into a little bit about that, but I think there's more that you could share with us.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, I am a mom and I have two young girls. And a couple years ago, actually, just over 2 years ago, I started down this entrepreneurship rabbit hole. I was sitting on Instagram in the middle of the night, and I often tell the story. I was doom scrolling like many of us do on social media in the middle of the night. And I was coming across all of these different videos on TikTok and Instagram about how people were making money online, spending more time with their families, having that time freedom. And I come from education, I'm an educator all of my career. And so I had spent most of my career in the typical 9 to 5, working really more than 40 hours, working with students. And I loved it. But as my kids were getting older, my oldest daughter was getting ready to start kindergarten. I was looking for an opportunity to be able to build in some flexibility into our lives. And I started by selling on Amazon. I did Amazon FBA. I started looking at some other ventures. And one day I came across a YouTube video about print on demand. And it really hit all of the criteria that I was looking for. I did not want to manage inventory. I wanted something that was low capital, low upfront financial investment, because again, I have a family. I wanted to make sure I was doing something that was a little bit low risk. I wanted something mostly hands off that I could do while I was just on my laptop wherever I wanted to be. And I would say I'm not a graphic designer by any means. I am somewhat creative. I can tell what looks good. And so when I came across print on demand, I thought, wow, this kind of fits everything that I'm looking for. And January 2023, it was my New Year's resolution. And I really dove right in and spent the first few months just learning all about Etsy, learning about research and design and print on demand and products and things like that. And then my shop just each month kind of started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and has grown to where it is today.
Wow, what a great story. What I like about that story is I think we're talking about the same thing here because um, we mentioned about the people, like it's December right now when we're recording this, and I think a lot of people like you are kind of looking, like you did, are kind of looking for something. And January, perfect time to start the new year, start, New Year's resolution, looking for that thing that will help, and you did it. And so I think that's perfect. And another thing I love about that story is that you're an educator. So not only did you do this, but I think you're the kind of the right person to teach this too, because you have that skill. So this is perfect. I'm glad that everything worked out. And the next thing I wanted to ask is, Why did you pick Etsy? There's so many other print on demand places out there. What was it about Etsy that made you want to start with there and continue with Etsy?
Sure. So, as I had mentioned, I had been doing a little bit of side hustling on Amazon. I was familiar with using a platform that really drove traffic for you there. And being someone that's coming from education without any business experience, I truly had zero business experience. And the idea of being able to rely on Etsy to help me drive their millions of customers every month to my products was something that was really appealing to me. Yes, there are fees associated with Etsy, but the fees are very minimal in terms of the return that you can get on that by having your products exposed to so many different millions of customers every year. So, for me, a big part of it was I didn't have the business experience to start my own Shopify account or do other things. Etsy was a platform I was very familiar with in terms of shopping there myself. It felt very much in line with the type of products I was going to potentially design for, and then again, having that built-in customer base there was a huge draw for me. Going back to why I started and looking for a side hustle and the type of side hustle I was looking for, I wanted something that had that low risk. So I didn't want to have to be running a ton of ads on things I was trying to sell when I wasn't even sure if it was going to work yet. So Etsy felt like a really great place for me to explore this, test things, and really build that first business that I've had.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I think a lot of people, what I got from that, what you're saying is kind of it related to you. Like you could see things that you would buy there anyway, and so it
Yes.
kind of made like a good fit, right? Like
Yes.
you kind of knew the customer
Mhm.
audience and things because
Yes.
it resonated with you. So perfect. That's a great tip. Okay, question number three. What are your thoughts on print on demand as a whole? Is it too
Mhm.
saturated? A lot of people that are looking into it are thinking, 2025, I'm too late. There's so many people on there. Not too long ago, you started, and you
Mhm.
might have had that feeling as well. What is your thoughts about it now and going into 2025?
Sure. So I hear this all the time. It's one of the things I talk about a lot on my Instagram and in my emails, things like that. Etsy is too saturated, print on demand is too saturated. And I often will say Etsy or print on demand may be too saturated, but they're saturated with very generic, broad designs. So, for example, mama bear t-shirts, right? So you might see a million of those on Etsy. But Etsy is not, and print on demand are not too saturated with more micro niched down designs. So instead of a mama bear design, looking at, a baseball mom shirt or a twins mom Halloween shirt, things like that. And so being able to, I saw pretty quickly the demand and the interest and the lack of competition in these more narrowed down areas on Etsy and with print on demand. And the other thing, too, I would say specifically about print on demand is there are a lot of product types themselves that are not too saturated, especially on Etsy. So I focus primarily on gift products. And this was something that I learned several months into my Etsy shop. I had mostly started with apparel, with t-shirts, sweatshirts, and slowly started testing what I would call giftable products. So think mugs or journals or bags, things like that. And immediately saw an interest in that and sales start to come in. And I would say there's a lot of different products out there that are offered that is not too saturated, especially on Etsy. And so thinking about these two different areas, the different product types that are out there, but also being able to niche down to different customers or different occasions and being able to offer something unique. If I joke, if I had five more of me, I could run another five or 10 Etsy shops and there would be plenty for me to design for. And so I wish I had more time for myself to do that. But I think that goes to show that there is still so much opportunity out there for people just starting.
Nice. I'm glad you answered that. Yeah, I agree 100% of everything that you just said. I also think like you never know what's the next big thing that's going to happen. Nobody's designed for the thing
Totally.
in the future that hasn't happened yet, right? So there's
Yes.
there's always opportunity there too. So never fully saturated because we don't know what's coming ahead too. So I'm glad. Okay, next one. I think we covered some of the questions beginners have. One of the other things I wanted to ask you is, what are some beginner tips for Etsy? Any tips for those just starting out? Maybe
Mhm.
they decided, yes, this is something I want to do. I want to start Etsy. Okay, so now what are some beginner tips for them?
Sure. So the first thing I would say for anyone just starting is to give yourself a time frame where you're going to just focus for that amount of time. So say for me when I started I said to my husband, I'm going to give this 6 months of just focusing on this and grinding, and every minute that I had I was researching or learning, watching YouTube, designing, testing things. And I really gave myself that window to just focus all of my extra, I was working full time. I have 2 kids, all of the things that come along with that, but any possible moment, I was really just focused on spending time building in research, designs, listing, and I think by focusing for that period of time and whatever that is for you, maybe it's a year, maybe it's a few months, whatever it is, but really just saying, "Okay, I'm putting all of my attention on this." When I'm working with newer print on demand or Etsy sellers, what I find is if they are trying to do many different things at one time, it's often hard to really build that momentum. And then with that, I would say starting small, just focus on small steps every day, consistent action. I set goals that I would literally write like up on my fridge, 2 listings per day or
Mhm.
1 listing per day. And I would go and I would cross off the days on my to-do list, and I would just focus on those very tangible things that were within my control. Because if you're focused on, well, I want to get a sale today, it's hard to feel motivated and to feel inspired when your fulfillment is based on somebody else purchasing something. But for me, if I could say, okay, I put an hour into this today, I got 2 listings up, I did research, I would feel really good about that. And I would feel some of that momentum and that inspiration. And then the other thing I would say is just really practical advice is starting with one product type. So if that's a t shirt, focus on really nailing down how to design for a t shirt, how to list a t shirt, how to do your mock ups, or say it's a tote bag or a mug, really focus on that. Pick a couple niches or 1 or 2 niches depending what you're interested in or your passions are or what you found in your research, but try not to do a million things at one time. And I think that's the overall advice that I would give is give yourself that time of focus on 1 or 2 products, a couple niches, really dive in, dig in, do the research, do the designing, nail down those mock-ups and those listings, and then slowly branching out from there. I am notorious for shiny object syndrome. I'm often like, "Oh, I want to do that now." And I've learned when I do that, I tend to spread myself too thin and I'm not really doing anything well. So if I can just focus, and I would recommend that for new sellers too, just that focus period of being able to dig into that is going to help work wonders as you're learning.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I think a lot of beginners, I know that I've done that before as well, is like I spend a week on it or 2 weeks and it's not working. Like it
Yes,
takes some time, right?
exactly. It takes
Yeah, it takes
time.
time. You said you gave yourself 6 months, and I love the
Mhm.
focus on the things that you can control because I
Yes.
can control uploads, I can control some of
Mhm.
those things, and they don't necessarily mean that I'm getting sales, but it helps motivate me to know that I'm doing something and I'm actually reaching the goal and crossing it out and doing
Yes.
something. So great tips. I love that. Okay, next one is, what are some things that they should stay away from? New beginners should actually stay away from. Now, you talked about things that we should do. Are there any things that we shouldn't do or they
Mhm.
shouldn't do?
There are some obvious ones, things like staying away from trademarked
Mm,
designs, phrases, things like that. I see that a lot with new sellers is just thinking, oh, I can do like a Taylor Swift t shirt or a Taylor Swift item. And that obviously is not a great plan because those things can get you dinged or shut down on the Etsy side. So there are some things like that in terms of staying away from things that are trademarked, copyrighted, all of that. But outside of that, I think it would just be almost opposite of what I just said in terms of what you should focus on, which is having paying attention too much to what other people are
Mm,
doing and focusing on those that are your, I wouldn't even call them competitors because we're all, we're all selling here and it's great. But I would say a lot of times I see new sellers like, well, they have that listing up and it's doing so well for them and mine is better. Why isn't mine selling? That isn't really going to help get you anywhere. Or maybe you see other shops that are selling trademarked items. I see that a lot. And people are frustrated by that and how they're making so many sales. And, I think it's really important to kind of have your blinders on and focus on your journey, your business, and that you want to build a long term sustainable print on demand business. And to do that, I really think you kind of have to focus on what you're doing and making sure you're following the steps you want to follow, that you're doing everything by the book and not getting too caught up in what others are doing. I think it's great to have inspiration from other shops or other sellers, and I definitely do that, and I admire so many different print on demand Etsy sellers out there. It's so fun to see their success, but I try not to let that impact or bring me down in any way because I want to cheer them on as well. What's good for them is good for me. So I think it's really important to have those blinders on and just really focus on your journey.
yeah, that's a great tip. I think a lot of, like you said in the one before, sometimes we look and have the
Yes.
shiny object syndrome and don't focus. So great tips. Okay, so we know what to do. We know what not to do.
Mhm,
I don't do Etsy that much, so I'm curious about this one. This question is for me as well. What are your thoughts on Etsy ads? I know Etsy
mhm.
has ads built in or that you can use on there. Do you use them, or what are your thoughts on them?
That's a good question. So there's a lot of different schools of thought around this out there in the Etsy world. And I will say, for the first full year I was selling, I did not use
Mm,
Etsy ads. And I really try to share with aspiring Etsy sellers, especially print on demand sellers, that you don't need ads. And what I like to teach, and we have a new course called the Gift Lab that just came out that just focuses on selling printable or giftable print on demand products. And that is all rooted in research and finding where the demand is, and then using those keywords in your listings and in your SEO to drive traffic as opposed to ads. I do think ads can be a really powerful tool once you have some proven products that are selling organically. But I also think for new sellers, being able to learn how to optimize listings, how to find products that are in demand, how to design for your customers should come well before thinking about running ads, because I do think it can be a little risky if you haven't optimized those things beforehand.
yeah, I totally agree. Like ads for me, what I feel like ads does is it gives you eyeballs on your product. But
Yes,
if your product is something nobody wants to buy, then those ads aren't going to do much for you. Like you
exactly.
said, it should you should focus on creating the right design or right product that people actually
Mhm.
want to buy first with whatever it is, the design, the SEO, and all of that. Make sure that's the gifts, all the things that you said,
Yes.
and then the ads could help because
Yes.
yeah, so make perfect sense. That's perfect. Next one,
Mhm.
what print provider do you recommend people use and why?
Sure. So I have been with Printify since day one, and I have had a really great experience with them. I've sold through a variety of different print partners that they use through Printify. So I have tested a lot of different products. I have sold a lot of different products through Printify, and I have really enjoyed their customer service. I've had a great experience there where I feel like, again, as a beginner business owner, they have made it really easy for me if there's ever been an issue, which there haven't been that many, but when there is, they're very responsive to me and help make it a really seamless process. I also find the integration with Etsy to be very easy to use. And so overall, I have had a really great experience and have been using Printify since day one.
I agree. I
Yeah.
use Printify too for my Shopify and
Yeah.
for the little Etsy that I do, but
Yeah.
I love Printify as well and love all the products, and it's real easy to use and can't say
Yep.
enough about it too. So great. We're on the same page for
Good.
that one. Okay. What products should a new seller start selling on Etsy?
Sure. So in the Gift Lab, which is our my new course with Gold City Ventures, like I mentioned, we focus on selling giftable print on demand products. And I can provide a little bit of context as to why. So when I started my shop, like I mentioned, I was focused on apparel, t-shirts, sweatshirts, tank tops, and as I started exploring, I realized that I was getting a lot of great feedback from Etsy customers in reviews or messages about how they really enjoyed whichever product it was as a gift for so and so. Maybe it was a gift for a teacher, a gift for their grandmother, all of the above. And so it really clicked with me. I'm a big fan of doubling down on what's working. So if something is starting to work, really go in that direction and do more of it. So I really focused on moving in the direction of focusing on giftable products. And like I said, that wasn't my initial intent with my shop. I had started selling t shirts for educators, because again, that's the world that I came from. But when the data was telling me to go in a different direction, I did. And so this course, the Gift Lab, we actually teach students how to design and list 5 of our top giftable print on demand products. So those are journals, mugs, tote bags, ornaments, and candles. And this is based on also not only my own experience, but researching on Etsy, using research tools, and just looking on Etsy ourselves to see where newer shops, so shops that are under a year old or under 2 years old, are having success. And a lot of times, if they're in this gift theme and in this gift product world, it's in those products. And you're seeing a lot of success with these newer shops with these types of products. And I think with that, it's thinking of all of the occasions where you can apply designs to these different products. People buy candles for everything under the sun. They buy tote bags. Those are easy gifts for people to send. They're at a good price point. Journals can be personalized and really made to be something special. Ornaments are obviously a great option. And surprisingly, customers buy ornaments year round. So, based on that research, based on the products that I have sold in my own shop and I'm selling today, those would be the top 5 that we walk through in the course and we recommend for newer sellers. I think the other piece to this, and I could go on and on about all of these products, is that they can also be really simple to design. So, when you're thinking about, for example, a candle, it is a label. And a lot of times, a lot of the best selling candles are just plain text on a label. Or if you look at journals, a lot of times it's just text, one color text, but it's personalized. And so when we were looking at these types of products, and again, through my experience, looking for products where the designs can be very, very straightforward, simple, but they have that emotional connection to them. And so people are attracted to them and want to buy them. But as a beginner who, like myself, I didn't have graphic design experience, those products came more naturally for me to design because it didn't require a lot of graphics. It didn't require a lot of colors. It didn't require being able to pick different fonts. And so those products really worked well. And that's what we encourage our students to do as well.
That's awesome. I love that you shared all those different products, and the fact that you focused on gifts. You just must be killing it right now because Q4 is all about gifts and stuff. So that's awesome. I'm sure people buy gifts year round. I can
They
think of
do.
like Valentine's Day, St.
Yep.
Pat, like all the big holidays, right? Like
Hmm.
yeah, and that's like every month there's a big reason to
Yep.
buy something. So that's pretty cool. Cool idea. All right. Um, we hardly touched upon your 500K XZ goal that you made or passed. I'm sure you passed it already because
Yep.
it's been a little while. What are there any apps that you use with Etsy that helped you get that reach that 500K?
Sure. So I'm definitely a I'm a self-proclaimed research nerd. I
Mhm.
really enjoy doing the scavenger hunt of being able to find trends and being able to find what is selling well. And so my number one research tool that I use is Everbee. And I love the analytics that Everbee provides when you're doing Etsy research because it's built in to your Etsy page. It's an extension. And so you're able to be on Etsy and very seamlessly look at stats about different products, look up keywords and things like that. So Everbee has been truly one of I don't go a day without using Everbee, and I also use their profit calculator to make sure I'm pricing my products appropriately, and all the different tools that they provide have been a critical part of my success. And I think investing in something like that, whether it's Everbee or another research tool, was a huge part of me being able to start making sales quicker because again, I have limited time. And so having research tools just allows me to do things more efficiently and be able to see the information and the data more efficiently so then I can make decisions. So that's been really important. I would say the other more recent research tool that I have really enjoyed is Insight Factory. That's been a big one for me to really generate ideas. So sometimes I go in and I know what I want to look up. So again, Valentine's Day is going to be coming up. Maybe I know I'm going to be looking for Valentine's Day gifts that I want to design. But sometimes you sit down and you don't really know what direction you want to go that day. And Insight Factory has a great trends tool that generates ideas for you to be able to see what's been selling. And they break theirs down by different categories, by different product types. So if I wanted to design for a mug that day, for example, I could click on a mugs and see what trending mugs are out there. So Insight Factory has been a great one for me as well. And I've really enjoyed kind of adding that into my business. And then design wise, I just mostly do all my designs on Canva. Again, I'm a pretty simple text based designer. I do a lot of also research on Pinterest and Google. I try to create designs that really connect with people for that occasion or for that customer. And so a lot of times I'm just kind of Googling and going on Pinterest and looking for funny ideas or sentimental ideas or just getting inspiration from there and then carrying that over to Canva when I'm going to make my designs.
Nice. All right, cool. I think we got all the information, well, a lot of the information for people to start with print on demand, especially with Etsy. We talked about the products, the apps, like the do's and don'ts. I'm curious, what are your plans now for 2025? You've got 2 years under your belt, 500K, which is amazing. I can't believe it. Are you doing something different in 2025? Something more? I know I follow you on Instagram here, and you post a lot of different things. So if you guys haven't followed her, make sure to follow her there. But what are some things that you plan on doing in 2025?
Sure. So I view it a little bit from two lenses. So, first, for my own Etsy shops, this year I've been on a journey in my own business, diversifying income streams and figuring out, this whole entrepreneurship journey of myself. And I'm actually really excited in 2025 to dedicate some more time just getting back to basics in my Etsy shops and going back to what I love, which is the designing and the research. And I have a couple product types that I really want to start incorporating that Printify has just launched. And I want to test some of those and really continue to build up my own shops. I don't know what's going to happen with TikTok. Obviously, the idea of TikTok shop or other things expanding in that way is interesting to me as well. So, to be determined on that.
Mhm.
But I am excited my goal for 2025 is to get back to some of the basics and focus on creating some more special products and gifts in my own shops. And then the flip side of that is also dedicating a lot of time to aspiring Etsy sellers and print on demand sellers. So the Gift Lab just launched this month. And so we are really excited to continue supporting those students throughout 2025 and looking at what that looks like and being able to share more information and tips. And right now, for example, on Instagram, I'm doing the 12 days of niches for cha-chings on Etsy. So each day I've been diving into a different niche and how to stand out in those niches on Etsy. And so I'm excited to create some more content. I am not a content creator. I am not an influencer.
Mhm.
So this is very much like a new journey for me. I'm not someone who even really, the reason I started on Etsy too is because you could do it faceless. So
Mhm.
I'm very much kind of trying to become more comfortable with having my face out there more. And I'm really doing that to be able to share the experience and education that I've gotten and being able to help. It truly is the best when someone messages you and says, I got my first sale today because of what you shared, or I took the course and I've already gotten a sale. And so those things make it very much worth going out of my comfort zone to be able to share that information with others.
That's awesome. I love those two-pronged things, like working on yours and helping others. That's I had the same thing. Like I started on demand. I didn't show my face on anything,
Yeah.
and it's kind of the same way. Like I wanted to help out, so I went on YouTube, and my first 20 videos didn't show my face, but I felt like I kind of had to to help more people, and so that I
Yeah.
did it. So yeah, it's been a while now, so I can yeah, I know how it is.
It's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
too because like I said, if you've gotten into this to be able to just run a business behind the scenes and
Mhm.
not really, but then you see how rewarding it can be to help
Yes.
others, like you want to do that more, but you definitely have to push yourself out of your comfort zone behind your
Mhm.
desk or behind your laptop to do something different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I totally agree. All right. I don't know if we touched, you mentioned Gift Lab. I'm going to put the
Mhm.
link in there. Do we need to mention anything else on about it? Like how to get there? Anything? Did we miss anything about that?
I don't think so. The only
Okay.
thing I do want to add to that
Okay.
is my favorite part about the course, which we haven't touched on, is I know I mentioned a bit about this idea of micro niching and narrowing down your products. And the thing I love about the Gift Lab that we've put together is the micro niching workbook, which is actually a spreadsheet that walks you through narrowing down your ideas. So it has tabs for like all these different occasions that happen year round. It has a tab for all these different customer types, et cetera, et cetera. And it really handholds through the process of being able to narrow down your designs, your gift products to these specific customers. And it follows very much the process I use every day in my own shop. So that is an added piece to the course that I absolutely love. And then it also provides templates for 5 design templates for each of the products that I touched on, and it also provides customer service message templates and responses to help. So we really try to set up the students who are interested in selling these giftable products on Etsy to be able to from day one kind of have that hand holding through the process and then get you going on your own. So I'm really excited about those resources we've provided that truly mirror exactly what I'm doing in my shop. But yes, there will be a link and all the information is there. It talks about the micronation workbook, the course, the templates, all of that is on there on that link.
Nice. Yeah, I like that because I think a lot of people want to get started but just don't know how. Like
Yes.
there's so many choices, right?
Yes.
On what to do or products or whatever. But yeah, that's great. I'm glad you thought all about it because you went through it not too long ago and can
Yes.
help people with it. So this is great. So perfect. I think this video is great for anyone that wants to start print on demand, looking into it, especially with Etsy. You already have all those things. Anything we've missed? Anything that you want to say before we end this interview? Maybe motivation or
Mhm.
whatever. I don't know what last words. Any last words for people in this
Yeah.
interview? Yeah.
Of course. I think what I would like to add is that I often get asked, why would you, and you maybe have gotten asked this too, why would you want to
Mhm.
share all of your secrets or why would you want to share all of this information? And I think when you have started to find some success in whichever business or side hustle you're doing, you realize there is so much room for all of us to have a piece of the pie. As I mentioned earlier, if I had 5 more of me, I could open 5 or 10 more Etsy shops. There's that much opportunity and demand out there for different products. And so, regardless of what experience you're starting from or what you're interested in doing. I just like to encourage that it's absolutely still possible. And when we are sharing this type of information, it really is coming from a genuine place of knowing that there really is so much opportunity out there. And I could scream it from the rooftops. It's not too saturated. There is so much opportunity for new sellers to come in. And I see it every day researching on Etsy. I see these new shops that are making big sales because they're finding these pockets in the market. And I think just starting small, being consistent, and focusing on what you can control can go a really, really long way. And if we can be a part of that journey or even just provide a little bit of inspiration, I'm so, so glad. But I would love for everyone to, like I said at the beginning of this call, to just have that time where they give themselves some time just to focus on their goals, focus on small daily tasks, and really diving into it. And I think you can see really great results.
Great, great last words. I agree 100% that the reason why I started sharing and helping other people, because I know how hard it is out there. Some people are living
Yes.
paycheck to paycheck,
Yes.
inflation and all of that, and I felt like I needed something
Hmm.
extra, and I think a lot of people feel that too. And then with your help, people can do that for something that they love doing anyway.
Yes.
I think that's something that, like, you went in there and you found something that you like doing and spending time with your kids and all of that stuff. I think this is a great opportunity, especially now. So thank
Yep.
you so much for helping. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for being on this interview and helping people in the future do something that they love and can get an extra income for it. So,
No,
um,
thank you for having me.
yeah, of course. Well, maybe we'll see what you're doing next year and see. I'm sure it'll be even better and helping a lot more people. So, thanks again. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.